everyone, Dr. Christine Kaczmar here. Welcome to Smart Digestion Radio, episode 34. And on today's show, we're going to go deep into stomach acid deficiency and calcium deficiency, and we're going to connect the dots. Stay tuned.
There are certain bodily things a lady doesn't discuss. Unless it's this lady. Welcome to Smart Digestion Radio with Dr. Christine Kaczmar, the Poop Scoop Show for the wellness-minded.
Hey everyone, I am here, just finished seeing patients and talking to my Healthy Rebel VIP group. And here I am finishing up the podcast that you're about to listen to. And it's been a really great week here. I rented ad space on the front of my local paper. It's the county paper called the Macomb Daily. Had some amazing response from everyone from that. So thank you. On the front page, basically, I talked about my mission. And it was a doctor's confession is the title of it. And I'm just talking about how the medical model is broken. So I'm taking my message to other places more than just on the airwaves here on this podcast. So if you get a chance to check that out, that's the Macomb Daily. And anyway, let's get into the content today. I really think you're going to enjoy it. So here we go. Thanks again for being here. And what I want to talk about today is stomach acid deficiency. You know, one of the things that patients commonly tell me is that their medical doctor says, I need to put you on this Prilosec or this Nexium or this Omeprazole or Protonix because you're making too much stomach acid. So what I want to do is start off the show by saying to you that is absolutely physiologically impossible. It's wrong that a doctor would ever tell you that. It's impossible for you to make too much stomach acid. The reason for that is your body has checks and balances. Your body has a way of seeing, hey, do I need more acid? Do I need less acid? And so on. The hypothalamus, the gland in the brain, will recognize when you have sufficient stomach acid. It is impossible for you to make too much. The stomach acid that you're getting is actually coming from your blood. Your body is sending in hydrogen. Your body is sending in chloride into the stomach to make this hydrochloric acid. At any given time, when your stomach is empty, think of your stomach like a flat envelope. There's no hydrochloric acid in there, or very, very little. It's only when there's a presence of food or the initiation of digestion happening or kicking in, that food is coming, that hydrogen and chloride are released from the blood into the stomach. And when there is sufficient amount, the body will turn that switch off. So to say that you're making too much stomach acid is false. I can understand why they're using that because an average person will think, okay, yeah, it makes sense that I have this heartburn or this GERD and so on because I have too much acid. You can see how that would be something that is a rational thought, right? But it's really the opposite. You have too little stomach acid. Heartburn, GERD, issues like this, these are things that are a result of having too little stomach acid. These are common symptoms that are associated with having insufficiency in your lower esophageal sphincter. It's not tonified. And also, you may have issues with the mucosal lining in your stomach, esophagus, and so on, because you need that protective layer of mucus. So for today's show, we're going to talk about 3 common things that happen when you have insufficient stomach acid. And I'm going to give you the 3 now, and then I'm going to go in deep on each one. So the first is calcium deficiency. The second is iron deficiency. And the third is really 2 things. It's a twofer. And that is it's reduced flow of bile and increased cholesterol in the blood. So anyone out there listening who is taking a proton pump inhibitor such as Nexium, Prilosec, Protonix, not only are you increasing your chance of stroke, but you are also now diminishing stomach acid production. That's not good. You need stomach acid to really ignite 2 switches, and they are absorbing minerals and digesting proteins. You need an acid environment in the stomach to do those 2 things, absorb minerals and digest protein. And if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know how I'm a fan of protein because it's your healing nutrient. So again, the 3 things, really 4, that you will find happen when you have too little stomach acid or an inadequate stomach acid production are calcium deficiency, iron deficiency, reduced flow of bile, and therefore increased cholesterol in the blood. A moment ago, I talked about how if you're on a proton pump inhibitor, this cannot be a good thing. It cannot bode well at all for proper digestion of minerals, of proteins when you're taking something that's going to reduce the stomach acid. But what you just heard me say with that third 2 for 4th is that having insufficient stomach acid is going to reduce the flow of bile and increase cholesterol in the blood. So anyone out there who's paying attention may be thinking what I'm thinking here, which is this is why people are having elevated cholesterol. It's because they're not properly making stomach acid. So the problem therein is there are so many people taking statin drugs because of the elevated cholesterol in the blood, when in fact, it's not that they lack cholesterol meds in their bloodstream, it's that they lack sufficient stomach acid production. Do you see where we're going with this? What if there are people out there listening, or maybe somebody that you know, who is not only taking a proton pump inhibitor like a Nexium or Prilosec or omeprazole, but they're also taking Lipitor? This is extremely bad news for the gut. This is extremely bad news for the body's ability to heal and recover, because now you are treating 2 symptoms with prescription medications, which will do nothing to ever heal your body. Again, prescription medications can never heal you. They're drugs. Only food will heal you. Period. Not to mention, these prescription drugs have side effects which are devastating. So to manage an elevated cholesterol in the blood with a statin is usurping the entire problem completely. We need to be addressing why this person has low stomach acid, because it's impossible to have high stomach acid, which is what a lot of prescriptions are written for. A lot of the pharmaceutical reps will say this to the medical doctor. So let's go ahead now and break these down one by one. Calcium deficiency, iron deficiency, reduced flow of bile, and the increased cholesterol in the blood. All of these are directly linked to inadequate stomach acid production. Let's dive in. In order for us to really get to the real bottom line about understanding what I'm going to review with you here today, about what happens when we have low stomach acid, to kind of back up and rewind just a touch, let's define a few key points. Starting with what really is nutrition? Well, it's the science of food. Food is fats, carbs, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and enzymes. Really, what digestion is and nutrition is that it's the ability for ingestion, digestion, absorption, transportation, utilization, and elimination of food. Ingestion, digestion, absorption, transportation, utilization, and elimination of food. Again, this is why the phrase, "you are what you eat," is so wrong. That's only one tiny little component of this. There are so many patients that I see, most of them, in fact, who sit before me and they are in the right weight range. They have a great diet, but they are sick. They have energy deficiencies. And that's my job, is to help find that out. And a lot of this is traced back to low stomach acid. Understand this as well. And that is that your macronutrients, fats or lipids, carbohydrates or sugars, and proteins, these are your body's 3 sources of energy, not vitamins and minerals. This is very important. Vitamins and minerals are not sources of energy. To start with calcium, let's do a little calcium 101. 99% of the calcium is found in your skeletal system. 1% of your calcium actually circulates in your blood approximately. And about 20% of your bone or your skeleton is replaced every year. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? These are cool little calcium factoids. The role of calcium, let's talk about that also before we hit the deficiencies. The normal role of calcium is to do things like contract muscle, help regulate heartbeat, help conduct nerve impulses, cellular divisions. It helps and assists with the immune function, saliva production, blood pressure balance, enzyme activity. We'll talk a lot about that. Hormone activity for digestion, energy, and fat metabolism, and nutritional transport. These are just some of the roles of calcium. So let's begin with calcium deficiency. In your body, when calcium levels are less than optimal, your body is always checking this. The hypothalamus is always checking. And there are mechanisms that will pull the calcium from your bone to maintain this adequate calcium level. Your body won't even think about it. It just does it. I mean, it doesn't even ask permission, really. It does what it needs to do. If it has to take calcium from your bone, there's no discussion. Off it goes, right? And into the blood, whatever it needs to stabilize and maintain homeostasis. And the best part about that is you don't have to think about this. We don't have to think about this. Can you imagine if we had to think about all these functions? No one would really survive past day 1, maybe even day 1 second. So when you're calcium deficient, Here are some of the symptoms, or here are some of the breakdowns that happen in function. Nerve sensitivity, muscle twitching, brittle nails, irritability, heart palpitations, insomnia, muscle cramps, numbness, tingling in the hands and feet. Those are just a few. Does this sound like you? Well, I'm here to tell you, it may not be that you need to supplement with calcium. It may be exactly that we need to find out how we can get your stomach acid up, because low stomach acid can create this calcium deficiency. Next up is iron deficiency. And just like calcium, iron is a mineral as well. And when you're not properly making stomach acid, two switches are not going to be ignited. They're not going to be initiated or triggered. And that is digesting protein and absorbing minerals. So with low stomach acid, you're going to have a deficiency in iron. Iron has a lot to do with your hemoglobin. So does protein. And these are very important things for making sure you have enough energy, that you're not feeling fatigue, weak, headachy, brain fog. These are all pale skin. These can all be direct symptoms related to iron deficiency. And the final component I want to discuss with you today is reduction of bile flow and elevated blood cholesterol, also connected to low stomach acid. So let's first touch upon some of the symptoms that may happen when you have insufficient bile flow. Well, this could be constipation. This could be diarrhea. In my work, a lot of times I talk about the consistency of the bile. Let's just pretend that a healthy consistency of bile is like a motor oil. If the bile is too liquidy or too wet or watery, this can tend to lead to loose, urgent Crohn's, colitis type stools. The converse, for somebody who is more constipated, their bile is more thick and pasty. This has a lot to do with the liver and the bile specifically. When you have low stomach acid, you're going to disrupt the cholecystokinin, which triggers the release of bile. But this cholecystokinin is only going to be triggered when the contents of the stomach into the duodenum are acidic enough. So if there's low stomach acid, this means that the contents of the stomach are too alkaline, and this will in turn disrupt the cholecystokinin release and the bile flow. So that's how that is connected. Now, when you cannot properly digest fat, this is going to lead to an increase in cholesterol in the blood. And suffice it to say that when we have low stomach acid, the bile creation is disrupted and the cholesterol within the bile moves into the blood, and this elevates the blood cholesterol. And this is where the medical model is also broken, because they treat this symptom with statin drugs, which are very harmful. All right, let's take a quick break, and I'll be right back. The phrase, "you are what you eat," is false. Better said, you are what you digest. Hey, it's Dr. Christine Kaczmar here. And if you're listening and you're out of state, maybe you live in Florida, maybe you live in Texas, and you'd like to work with me, I have you covered. Go to virtualdigestiondoc.com. That's virtualdigestiondoc.com. You will see there are 3 very specific ways that we can work together, even at long distance. Check out virtualdigestiondoc.com. Are you tired of being gassy and bloated and feeling like you got a bowling ball in your belly? I've got you covered there too. Go to omegadigestion.com to pick up my flagship product, Smart Carb. Smart Carb is a digestive enzyme with all of the enzymes in it you need to digest fats, carbs, proteins, dairy, you name it. It also has the healing botanicals of turmeric, black pepper, and cinnamon. Check it out by going to omegadigestion.com. That's omegadigestion.com. Let's go ahead and do a summary of what happens when we have low stomach acid. These 3 keys we talked about today. Number 1, calcium deficiency occurs with low stomach acid. Number 2, iron deficiency. And number 3, decreased or reduced bile flow and also increased cholesterol in the blood. The medical model is broken. They're not looking at restoring function. Prescription medications will never restore function. We need to really look at food for what it is, which is providing energy to our body. Only if you can properly digest it. And guys, that's what enzymes do. That's what enzymes do. This is why I built a company called Omega Digestion, is because this is one of the biggest reasons why we have such a low stomach acid, why we have constipation, diarrhea, heartburn, you name it. This all stems from what's going on in the gut. And if you can't properly digest food, you need to start with that digestive enzyme anyway. But even if you don't have symptoms, health is not about how you feel. It's about how well your body functions. So the very least you can do by listening to this program, if you're not taking a digestive enzyme, I don't care if it's mine or not, take one. You need 2 caps before you eat. If you're interested in mine, that's what OmegaDigestion.com is about, and it's called Smart Carb. Simple truth is that suppressing stomach acid can be very destructive to the human body in all areas. We need that stomach acid for so many things, like digesting protein, which is your healing nutrient. This is what we need to grow and repair and recover. This is what protein does. We need the stomach acid to absorb our minerals, like we talked about today, 2 of them being calcium and also iron. But don't forget about zinc, which has a lot to do with reproductive function. There are so many ways we could go and so many different tributaries that can be connected back to the river of low stomach acid. It's not that we have too much. It's that we have too little. This can create burping. This can create hiccups. This can create the constipation, the diarrhea, the nausea, the arthritic type problems. All of this can stem back to what's going on with low stomach acid. So I really hope you've enjoyed this show. I hope that you can share this out to somebody that you know that may be taking a proton pump inhibitor, which obviously that's bad news because these are antacids, creating that environment that we don't want. We don't want an alkaline environment in the stomach with the presence of food. Let me say that again. We do not want an alkaline environment in the stomach in the presence of food. We need an acidic environment in the stomach in the presence of food. That's what the acid is for. And it takes about 45 minutes, by the way, for your body to get the hydrochloric acid from the blood into the stomach. So I really hope you've enjoyed this show. I look forward to talking to you next time. Take care. Alrighty then, another episode of Smart Digestion Radio is in the books. However, the conversation never stops there. Great hubs to connect with me are going to be my Facebook page, which is The Digestion Doc. That's my handle on Twitter and Instagram as well. If you are interested in joining my community, my private inner circle over on Facebook, go to HealthyRebelsFB.com. That's HealthyRebelsFB.com. And my other main sites are TheDigestionDoctor.com and OmegaDigestion.com. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of the mission. My mission is to save 5 million lives from the broken medical model, and I cannot do it alone. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.